This is a email that was sent to me by a friend of mine because she got it, and it is a list of reasons to be afraid of Rick Perry. It says here in the beginning, if you don't know this by now, anyone who appears from nowhere is thrust into front-runner position by the establishment, and the establishment media is not someone who is on your side. How many times does this have to happen before everyone realizes stops falling for it? Rick Perry is a nightmare. But this is not a liberal group, as you'll soon see. So here we go. This is what they're saying about Rick Perry. This is what conservatives are saying about Rick Perry. And by the way, their language and their way of framing it obviously makes their point, but the facts in this, many of them are true. And I'll tell you when they're not, when I've been able to discern otherwise. So here's the first one. Perry wasn't always the gun-slinging cowboy. Long before Perry created his phony macho image, he was a cheerleader at Texas A&M in the 1960s. Man, the comparisons to George Bush is too much. Being a one of the lead cheerers or the cheerheads or whatever the hell, cheerheads, whatever they're called, Texas A&M, by the way, that was a big, powerful position to have in the late 60s that Rick Perry did. But come on. So he was a cheerleader, essentially, at Texas A&M. Next one. Perry is not now, it reads here, and never was all that bright. His college transcripts full of C's and D's. He received a D in economics. Whatever. Apparently, I read the article substantiating this. He did graduate with a 2.5. And by the way, early on, he couldn't be the head of the cheer team. He was on academic probation. So for some time, he was on academic probation, and then he got his stuff together and got all the way up to a 2.5. It's George Bush all over again. Next, it says Perry was a lifelong Democrat. He supported Jimmy Carter over Ronald Reagan in 1980. I don't know whether this is true, but it's probably true because Rick Perry was a Democrat until 1988. Next one is that he was elected as a Democratic state legislator there in 1984. He served 3 terms, and then it points out in 1987 he voted for a $5.7 billion tax increase. That tax increase, by the way, was in the budget of a Republican governor. And Perry did vote for it. That stuff, that's all true. Then this part is mostly true, this next one, and this is one that other conservatives are going to hammer Perry with again and again, that he was the Texas campaign manager for Al Gore's presidential run and then supported super liberal Mike Dukakis in the general election. I have no way of knowing whether he supported Mike Dukakis in the general election. He was still a Democrat until 1989 when he switched parties, not in 1988. And there's a little lack of clarity about, there are many news reports saying that he was Al Gore's campaign chairman, but those might have been based on some erroneous things that were established in the early 90s in a political campaign against him. What is clear is that he was one of 23 Democratic state senators or state legislators from Texas who endorsed Al Gore. He endorsed Al Gore for president in 1988. And then later, he said that sort of his disillusionment with the Gore campaign, that he wasn't a real conservative, helped contribute to him becoming a Republican in 1989. Let's run through the others of these. This is a great picture. It says here, when it became obvious that being a Democrat in conservative Texas was a career killer, the opportunistic, ambitious Perry switched to the Republican Party in 1990, transforming himself into a tough-talking, gun-slinging cowboy. Perry saying that the only difference is there'll be an R before my name. When he was agriculture commissioner in 1993, Perry praised Hillary Clinton's socialized health care scheme. Of course, it's a scheme, calling it most commendable. That's true. He did say it. That was 1993. Next, this is where Perry's getting hammered with most, is his support while in Texas for anything having to do that might possibly be construed with not hating Latinos. Perry spoke before the National Council of La Raza. And La Raza, of course, promotes open borders and welfare for illegals. It says here, this is again their words, Perry told La Raza that he opposes border fences against Arizona's anti-illegal immigration bill. What Perry did say is that the Arizona bill wouldn't work for Texas, so he was against it. Now, here's how you know this stuff comes from the right and not the left. Perry cooperated with the radical Marxist group Acorn. Acorn is the same red shirt group that spawned community organizer Barack Obama. I love it when that's in quotes. Acorn was under investigation for vote fraud in several states until Obama came to their rescue. None of that's true. Acorn has not been involved in any vote fraud. We all know that's nonsense. Then he hammers him for Gardasil. When he forced, well, I'll read it to you. In 2007, Perry signed an executive order mandating that every 6th grade girl submit to a 3-jab regimen of a vaccine for sexually transmitted diseases. And they point out that, of course, the Gardasil is a Merck drug, and Merck contributed to Rick Perry. Next, in 2008, Perry wrote letters to U.S. congressional leaders in support of the criminal Wall Street banker bailout. By doing so, he ignored the wishes of the American people and aligned himself with billionaire liberals like George Soros and Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, who says terrible things like, I would like to pay more taxes to help make the country better. Horrible people like Warren Buffett. Next, that he tripled the Texas debt in 10 years as governor, and that's technically true, but if you adjusted for inflation, he about doubled the debt, is what my research turned up. And then finally, they got the big Newsweek cover. Big liberal media is promoting Perry, so obviously people should be against him. The elite liberals hyped Perry's candidacy, same time attacking him just enough to give him credibility among conservatives. This clever tactic, because the mainstream media is so clever. This clever tactic is known as sheep dipping, as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Whenever they talk about this clever tactic, I always feel like these people are talking about Jews. They're like, this clever tactic by the Jews in the big mainstream media. Let's just run through these last two because it's good. Again, they're relentless, these two. The last two, that Perry talks a good game about states' rights, but in reality is not a supporter of states' rights, dedicated internationalist, just like George Soros, who has attended meetings of the influential Bilderberg Group in Europe. As described in the Drudge Report, Bilderberg is pro-socialist and anti-national sovereignty. How's the Bilderberg Group, how are these guys socialist? In what way? I mean, Lucas, we were talking about this before the show. The whole point of these guys, the whole point is to promote giant big business growth around the world. How are they socialist?
Yeah, they're definitely not for any kind of like national borders or anything from the, crazy shit that I've seen, but they definitely would not be pro-socialist. It's like throwing all the talking points they can at him.
Yeah, you're George Soros, pro-socialist, everything you can possibly imagine, mainstream media, big government establishment. And then finally, it talks about how he's a fake Christian in order to win Christian votes. Slick Rick shamelessly wears a false Christianity on his sleeve. His insincere public prayer spectacles call to mind a biblical warning from Jesus. And then they quote something from Matthew chapter 6 there. So again, they're hammering him. They're hammering him for the right. And it's really just one thing, because this other stuff, as Lucas says, is just taking the talking points together. The thing they hate is the immigration stuff. That's why they hate him, because they don't like people who aren't like them. And immigrants, not comfortable with them being educated or not getting harassed by the police.